Good morning. At this point, we're going to show you how to transform a given equation into a linear equation or straight line graph equation. But we're going to begin with your understanding of how a straight line graph equation looks like. A straight line graph equation is in the form of y equals mx plus c, where y is the dependent variable and x is the independent variable, and m is the slope. M is the slope or slope of the graph. Slope of the graph, while c the intercept on x or y axis. So your straight line equation, remember, is in the form of y equals mx plus c. So when you're transforming equation, you must transform it into this form, y equals mx plus c, where y is the dependent variable and x the independent variable. As indicated there, y the dependent variable, x independent variable. So your straight line graph equation is always, a straight line graph equation is represented this way, and the graph is always in this form, where you have the dependent variable in the y-axis, as indicated the y. You're plotting a graph of, this is a graph of y against x. So if you have a graph of a particular variable, dependent variable against an independent variable, is always in this form, y equals to mx plus c. And the graph is in this form, where you have the dependent variable in the y-axis and the independent variable in the x-axis. And the graph is always a straight line graph, either from the origin, from 0, or you could have a graph in this format passing through here, or you could have a graph in this format passing at one point. All these are different form of straight line graph equation. You could also have negative slope, where you have your graph in this format. So all these are straight line graph equation, straight line graph gotten from this straight line graph equation. The straight line, this one starts from the origin, from 0, goes up. This one cuts here. This one cuts from the x-axis. This one cuts both the y-axis and the x-axis. At this point, the intercept for this graph here, emanating from the 0, starting from 0, is 0. But for this one, they say this is graph 1, this is graph 2, graph 3, graph 4. In graph 1, the intercept is 0, while in graph 2, the intercept is on the y-axis at that point, at the point I'm touching. Then in graph 3, this graph, the intercept is on the x-axis at this point, where it cuts the x-axis. At that point, you take your reading where this line cuts the x-axis. And graph number 4, the intercept is on both the y-axis at this point and on the x-axis. So whichever point they say you should determine the intercept, they can ask you determine the intercept on the y-axis or on the x-axis. So this is how straight line graph looks like, and the equation for the straight line graph is in the form of y equals mx plus c. So when you're transforming any equation, you must transform it into this format. In the next video, I'm going to show you how you transform a given equation into a straight line graph equation, from which you can deduce your slope variables or slope parameters and the intercept. So sit tight and watch and listen. Thank you.